Welcome back to the Fenway Focus. This is episode 6 of the Fenway Focus. My name is Derek. I am here with Jason. And the Boston Red Sox just got swept by the Baltimore Orioles. Not a fun series. I can especially attest to that, as I was at the first two games. And not a lot of things went right for the Red Sox overall.
No.
Opening day, obviously, was a great experience. Game 2, I was sitting on the Monster. Great experience, but even with those great experiences, the results were not what I would have liked. I'm sure, Jason, you're not happy with those results, obviously, getting swept.
I'm
I don't think
not
anyone
at all.
is. I don't think anyone is, but we got to talk about it because we are a Red Sox show, first and foremost. We have to discuss it. We don't like talking about the negatives, but when you get swept, you have to cover them. So, in this series, obviously, like I said, the Red Sox got swept by the Orioles. Game 1 was a 7-1 win for Baltimore. Game 2 was 7-5. And then Game 3 was a 9-4 with the Orioles winning in 10 innings. They almost had Game 3, almost. And then we saw them have to forfeit the DH for a second game this season. That's not ideal. But what are your thoughts on that, on the series as a whole, and before we kind of start looking game by game?
I mean, my main takeaway has got to be the defense. The defense was absolutely atrocious. I mean, 5 errors, we were talking before this. 5 errors too many. Okay? I understand if it was 1 or 2, but 5 errors, especially we're in another year too where the scorekeeping is very lenient again. So maybe that's 2 years ago, that's 7 or 8 errors. But sloppy defense, the loss of Trevor Story. They gotta fill Trevor Story's loss right now. They cannot go internally. They can only ride this wave for so long. We saw it today too. Romy Gonzalez is hurt. David Hamilton is your number one shortstop now, which is not good. He made a very big defensive mishap that caused the Orioles to come back today. He almost missed second base twice, but the one he did miss led to the 2-run home run by Henderson, and that was bad. So I just did not like what I saw at all defensively. I literally got so many texts saying little league team, and I could only agree with them. And look, something's got to change now in the defensive front, and they got to turn the page. Cora said it perfectly today after the game. They got to turn the page on Story. Simply put, they got to replace him. I think we'll get into this later too. But main takeaway, the defense costed you the series.
Yeah, and it's rough because I think we saw all last year with the defense. It's just like stop with the bad plays, the missed balls, the this, the that, whatever. And a lot of them are mistakes, and I said this after the Angel series. A lot of the mistakes that they've made, are fixable mistakes. And you look at the series, and I love Jarren Duran, but you can't be missing a fly ball in left field that literally hits your glove, and it wasn't a difficult catch, right? And those are mistakes you can't make, right? And I think now with Trevor Story going out, that kind of started the downhill kind of spiral, I guess should you say? And with, I think it was Alex Spear who's tweeted out that Duran punched a locker after the game and whatnot. And
Yep.
for a guy with with his mental health issues he's had in the past, it sucks to see because you can tell he's getting down on himself, and that clearly shows that the vibes are just completely gone. There's no. And, that's when you need someone like a Trevor Story, for example, to be there and say, hey, no, you just keep your head up, get the next one, don't worry about it, right? And I think they're missing Story not just in an on-field perspective. They're probably going to be missing him off the field as well. Even if he's there, it's not the same him being there injured than him being there if he was playing. And I think that's a important thing to mention. I think overall the series, the starters were solid. I didn't think Bayo had the most amazing start ever, but it was in a day game, and we know how Bayo is in day games, so you take it. Cutter Crawford solid. Not insane. Pitch count got up there a little bit. Had some deep counts, and the similar thing with Whitlock a little bit. The pitch count got a little bit high. Both of them were only able to go 5 innings. Would like to see someone go 6 or 7, but I think too, especially the last 2 games, were really kind of bullpen blow-ups, should you say?
Oh yeah.
And it has been a bullpen that had, to this point, been one of the best bullpens in baseball in a very short span, very short time span, very small sample size. But I think when you look at the grand picture of things and you see that, you start looking at his bullpen and start having a little bit of question marks because, let's be honest, Seattle last year was not a good team offensively. I think they'll be better this year, but they were not good last year, except for when Julio Rodriguez was on like a stretch where he was hitting 500 for like a week or so. Then you play the A's. It's Oakland, right? And then you played Los Angeles, who, outside of Mike Trout and like a hot start from like Taylor Ward, their offense was stinking it up. So you go face this Orioles team that is a good offense. Now it's like, okay, this is supposed to be your first real test of the season, and the Red Sox failed it. They flunked.
Oh yeah. It's
nowhere
like,
close.
yeah, and I want to allude to stuff you were talking to before, like against Oakland. I mean, yeah, you barely won the series. You barely swept them, right? It took 1-run games. Two out of the 3 games were 1-run games. So, just saying, and you almost lost the game too. So there's that. Yeah, the Angels series, like, they're the Angels, and I know it's only April, but you got to find a way to win. And they should have swept them, except the defense costed them. And it's just annoying because I said this before on other shows. Good pitching, good defense is going to improve pitching. If you don't have good defense, then the pitchers are going to have to pitch more. They're going to have to try to get another out because Cora says it all the time too. If you give outs to another team, they're going to take advantage of it. We said this last episode too. And, I think Derek, you did a good job explaining it too. Like teams like the Tampa Bay Rays, they'll make you pay. A lot of these teams, the Baltimore Orioles this series made you pay for your defensive mistakes. We saw that a whole bunch. And boy, oh boy, it costed you 2 games of the series. Something's got to change. Like, I cannot say that enough. They got to make some trade. They got to move some pieces. I'm sorry. You cannot field out David Hamilton and Cedar Rafaela every other day, or Pablo Reyes now. The revolving door at shortstop needs to be fixed right now.
And they're not putting Rafaela at short.
And they're not even doing it. They're putting it at second base, which is weird. Like, I understand. Okay, I kind of understand why, but at the same time, it's like,
David
really?
Hamilton's not a big league shortstop. Sorry.
No.
I don't know what the Red Sox are trying to believe with it. No. Can he play shortstop? Yeah, he can play shortstop. Doesn't mean he's good at shortstop. Romy Gonzalez, not really a shortstop, more of a second, third baseman, not really shortstop. Can play shortstop, but that doesn't mean you're
He's
good
also
at shortstop.
hurt.
Well, also, that's that. I was about to get to that. Pablo Reyes, similar boat, can play shortstop, not really a shortstop, right? Your best defensive shortstop is Cedar Rafaela, but he's also your everyday center fielder who you just signed to an 8-year contract extension to be your everyday center fielder. And that's where the issue comes in. And it's so insane because how easily could they have this offseason signed a Brandon Crawford to a minor league deal maybe? Or like gone after, give Paul DeYoung like $2 million or whatever it was the White Sox gave him. Or something like that. And it's like, or even if the guy was like a true AAA guy, but he can play defensively, he'd be defensively sound at shortstop, give me that. Like, it's so insane we're in the conversation of the Red Sox don't have anyone to play shortstop after Trevor Story gets hurt. And this isn't even a Trevor Story thing. It's like, you could argue, well, they should have been prepared because Story's gotten injured the last couple of years. It's not even that. what happens when Story doesn't play? Because even if Story's healthy, the games he doesn't play, someone's got to play shortstop, right? And if your answer to that is a Pablo Reyes, that's not the right answer, regardless.
Absolutely not. And now he's going to have to play a little bit of third base, too.
Yeah, with Rafi potentially out, and then brings up the question with Vaughn Grissom. He wasn't going to play shortstop. He might be playing shortstop now. Vaughn Grissom, not a good defensive shortstop. There's that problem again.
And
right?
they were even questioning him at second base, which is crazy. Lou Merlone had the whole thing of like his arm angle was weird, and a lot of scouts questioned his ability to play in the infield.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think he'll be fine at second, but even then though, that's not even the problem. If you can play Emmanuel Valdez at second, you can play Vaughn Grissom at second, but that's besides the point. But overall, it's it's such your best defensive shortstop in this outside of your two best defensive shortstops in the system in the entire Red Sox organization. Trevor Story, who's out for the year, and Briner Bonacy, who's out for the year on domestic violence suspension.
And what about Meyer?
He's your third, and they're not calling him up.
Yep.
He's 3. It's Story, who's out for the year, Bonacy, who's out for the year and literally can't play this year even if you wanted him to, and then Marcelo Meyer, who they're not calling up because there's no point. Mydroff's not playing short. I don't think Mydroff's even played shortstop in the Red Sox system. He might have a couple games that not.
But still, that's not good.
Second and third.
Yeah, that's not good though.
So they don't have an option though. That's what I'm saying though. They literally
have to go external, and
that's the issue. They should not be having to go external for this.
To be fair though, it was a freak injury, but you should be at least prepared for this.
But not even on Story's part. Even if Story's healthy, I said it 2 minutes ago. What about the games he doesn't play? Is Pablo Reyes going to be your shortstop when Story doesn't play? Even that's probably not the smartest thing, right? Why don't you have anyone who's solid defensively, even just to be on your bench? Maybe, I don't know. You need a guy who can play shortstop off the bench. Pablo Reyes isn't that guy. David Hamilton ain't that guy. Emmanuel Valdez ain't that guy. Romy Gonzalez ain't that guy. It's not hard.
Nope.
Not hard to do the math. But, I guess, I don't know, when you're somewhat strapped for cash, I guess, because,
And put this into... how do I say it? For what it's worth, in the offseason, you came in saying your third baseman, shortstop, and second baseman were going to be Devers, Story, and Grissom. It's game what? What game are we on? 13? And it's Reyes, Hamilton, Valdez.
Yeah. If you're lucky.
Come on, dude.
No, that's if you're lucky.
That's if you're lucky. That's insane. And they can't call Dahlbeck up unless there's an injury for another.
Very well might be, but that's besides the point.
But
you want Dahlbeck
exactly.
playing third base every day?
No. Bob?
I said, do you want Dahlbeck playing third base every day?
Better than Reyes. But that doesn't say much.
But exactly, that's the point. At that point, you might as well just give someone random a shot who's maybe you have a chance. I know he hits lefty, so it doesn't really solve the problem. But heck, give a Nick Sogard a chance, right? Screw it, why not, right? Actually, no, Nick Sogard's a switch hitter actually, so you're actually fine with that.
Is he a good defender or no?
I wouldn't say he's ideal for shortstop, but he definitely can play. But he should be able to. He's better than Hamilton at short. He's better than Reyes at short. Better than Romy at short. But he can play all three second, short, and third. I think he's probably their best shortstop out of the MLB and AAA levels. He's probably their best defensive shortstop, which isn't saying much. I don't think he's bad defensively. I think he's okay at short. I think he's probably best suited for a second base, because I think he's a good defender at second base, if not better than good. But he can play shortstop, and he's not just can play shortstop but sucks. He's better than the guys they have right now, but they're not going to do that because he's not on the 40 man. And so it's it's just kind of a crap show, and it's like, and like I said, outside of like your best defensive guy in the entire system that's even available to play, that would even be available, would be like calling Marcelo Meyer up from Double A, and they're not going to do that, and they shouldn't do that. It's just it's the horrific situation that they are in. Now, I mean, obviously, I'm sure the Red Sox are trying to figure out something, but here's the thing too: if you're another team and you're looking at the Red Sox, why would you trade with them?
They're desperate. You can up the price. Exactly. This is the same conversation we had last year, right? And they just kept rolling with Kike, right? We're like, we need another shortstop. This guy can't play. Reyes can't play that much better either.
Is Yu Chang available?
Oh God.
At least he's.
I'll take him at this point. Oh my God. I'll take him, dude.
The problem is, I don't think the Rays would give him to us. That's the problem.
He's on the Rays again?
Yeah, he's in the Rays org.
Never mind.
Yeah, I don't think they I don't think the Rays would trade him to
God.
Oh my gosh.
They'll probably ask for like a stupid even if we trade him, they'd get some like no-name prospect who's gonna turn into a Cy Young candidate 3 years from now.
Nah, they trade for like some reliever and high A that like the majority of people haven't heard of, but then when like I talked to like Hunter and Jake on the Pesky Report minor league show, all three of us gonna be like, what the hell are we doing? That's the guy we traded? Great, he's gonna be their closer in like 2 years.
So what about Paul DeYoung?
I mean, I would take him. I wanted him like 2 years ago. Honestly.
But here's the other thing I said. Why don't you go and give Andrelton Simmons a call and see if he'd play?
But he's retired. That'd
exactly. But still, why don't you give him a call saying, dude, we're screwed at shortstop. You know, we'll give you $1 million. Come get your glove.
A little more than $1 million. Here's the thing with
$1.5 million.
Though. Here's the thing with Andrelton Simmons. Back end of his career, he was not that great defensively on the back end. He tailed off defensively by defensive metrics. It wasn't like the insane Andrelton Simmons. He was still like good. Like he was still good like his 2021 year, but like in 2020, it was -2 defensive runs saved, -1 outs above average. And then in 2022, it was all right, but it wasn't like anything insane like we're used to him being. Now, I'm not saying like, I shouldn't say he's bad. I say he's bad by his like insane standards. And by the Andrelton Simmons standards, I mean like the guy who was putting up like 30 defensive runs saved a season standards. Which, by his standards, like, even a 10 defensive run save season's kind of bad for him, by his standards. That's what I mean. For the Red Sox, that's amazing. The other issue is he can't hit, which, at this point, isn't the biggest concern.
That is not a concern right now.
But at the same time, when I say Andrelton Simmons can't hit, in 35 games for the Cubs in 2022, he hit 173.
Yeah.
Like, when I say he can't hit, he cannot hit. And that's the thing. And so it's like, as much as his defense would be great for the Red Sox, like I said, I guess you could say it's bad by his standards in that, like I said, because like when he was in his prime, he was putting out like 30 defensive runs save seasons, like no one's business. Which it there's no way someone should be that good defensively, but he was. But the issue, like I said, he's not that anymore. Could he still put up a 10 defensive run save season? In my opinion, yes. But in which for the Red Sox, that'd still be amazing. But
here's the other thing too. I don't think they're gonna do anything external because they can say, "Oh, we have Vaughn Grissom coming back. He's not a great defender, but he's still something. He's still depth."
It's something, but even that. I mean, Paul DeYoung right now in 10 games has a 52% strikeout rate with the White Sox.
What's a DRS?
Paul DeYoung right now through 10 games is 0 defensive runs saved, 0 outs above average.
Is it red?
Year and that's in 58 innings this year. Last year, he was 0 defensive runs saved, 9 outs above average. The year before that, he was 5 defensive runs saved, 5 outs above average.
And the thing is, Story was so good early on that he already had 1 defensive run saved.
Story had like 8 outs above average, I think, in like 40 games last year. Like last year, we'll put this on the story thing of how good Trevor Story is defensively. Last year, in 314 innings, he had 8 defensive runs saved and 8 outs above average in 314 innings. I think it was like 42 or 43 games. That's insane. Those are both like top 7 or 8 in the league for all shortstops. Like top 7 or 8, and those are stats that are cumulative because the more innings you play, the more chances you have to rack up defensive runs saved. So the fact that Story was top 7, top 8 in both of those is insane. That's how good defensively he is, and that's why it's such a big loss because you're not going from average defensive shortstop to a meh one. You're going from an elite one to one that's not good. And that's such a difference that I think that's the thing that's lost in this whole Story going out. With Story, it wasn't about the offense this year. For Story, like, if he was a league average hitter, you'd be happy. Like, you take it, right? You take it and run with it because the defense was going to be that. The defense was going to be that good. Where paying him 23 million a year for that level of defense, like, you take it. In his 2022 season, in 94 games, 100 weighted runs created plus, his defense was so good at second base. Remind you, this is at second base, where he put up a $20 million value season based on his F-WAR.
Yeah, and what? Finished second in the Gold Glove conversation? Pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, that's the thing.
You gotta go for defense. I mean, look, I love the saying, defense wins championships. I really do. Story's loss screws this team. They're a borderline 70-win team now.
I think that, but you know what's even worse about that? This team legitimately had a chance to be competitive too. Like, legitimately. Because
if everything clicked, yes.
Well, no, think about this though. Think about the amount of runs you save with Story in the last 5 games. With Story at shortstop, Rafaela in center field, and with especially Story at shortstop too, though, mostly. But you think Story in short, Rafaela in center, then Duran doesn't play center at all. He slides to left. Keep O'Neill in right. Like, overall, like, you save multiple runs, and there's a chance that wins you maybe, maybe that you win 1 or 2 of the games against Baltimore. They very well could have won game 2. I mean, they only lost by 2. Like, you don't make the 2 errors you make that game. You never know, right? And Story might pull some crazy defensive play out of his hat that Romy Gonzalez, like there was the play that Romy like kind of made like a sliding stop in the hole but couldn't throw the guy out at first because he's Romy Gonzalez. Whereas if you're Trevor Story, maybe you make that play, right? Because like not many people have any business making that play, right? And I think like that's the thing where it's like this team, because the defense was at a point where it could have legitimately been good, like really good defensively. And now you're at a point where it's like the pitching staff, especially with guys like a Brian Bayo, ground ball pitcher, good luck. Good freaking luck. If there's anyone that this smells trouble for, it's Brian Bayo.
Yup.
The guy's 92nd and 93rd percentile in ground ball rate the last 2 years. That just screams trouble. Not having a good defense behind him. That's why the Chicago Cubs have Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner as their middle infield.
God. Yeah.
You know how great that would be?
The Sox could use that right now. They could use anyone good at freaking defending.
Yeah, it's a bit insane. But let's get off the Story, injury, all this stuff from that. Obviously, we kind of covered the Orioles series, but we don't really dwell on it. I will say Tyler O'Neill hit a homer. Started Casas. So that was cool, I guess. But Duran went 2 for 5 in both of the second and third game. Connor Wong with a massive pinch hit home run. Willie Abreu looked to maybe turn things around maybe in game 3, going 2 for 5. Maybe, we'll see. And like I said, Whitlock and Crawford were solid in their starts. I thought Bayo was alright too. So overall, like, it's not all negatives. It's just the real big things right now are negatives, which sucks. But we'll move on to this upcoming Angels series here that the Red Sox have. A little bit interesting. Game 1, Tanner Houck is set to go against Reed Detmers. Game 2, Griffin Canning is starting for the Angels. The Red Sox have not announced a starter for Game 2.
TBD.
Yep, TBD. My guess would be Cooper Criswell probably gets called up. That would be my assumption. And then Game 3 will be Brian Bayo facing off against Tyler Anderson. Jason, how are you feel going into this Angels series? What's your prediction for this series?
Look, as much as the Angels aren't good, you aren't good either. And there are just no signs right now that the Sox are really getting better. Other than the fact that the Red Sox in this series scored the first run in every game. Just saying. If they play the same way that they did against the Orioles, they lose 2 out of 3. Something's got to change, and assuming nothing changes, I have them losing 2 out of 3. Defense is just so bad.
You want to hear the bad news on this Angels series?
What?
What game's Brian Bayo pitching again?
He's not. Wait, no.
He's pitching
Game 3, which is a day game.
Which is a day game. Exactly. Exactly. Another day game for Brian Bayo. As if the Red Sox couldn't make any bigger mistake than having Brian Bayo pitch on a day game. At least he doesn't have to pitch the 11 o'clock game on Monday. At least there's that. Because
he had to do that last year against Ohtani.
He almost had to do that again this year because if you line the games up, had Nick Pivetta not gotten injured, Bayo would have been slated for the game against Cleveland.
No, he wouldn't have.
Yes, he would, because Pivetta would have pitched Wednesday, Crawford would have pitched tonight, and then Whitlock would be pitching game 1.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, no. Actually, no, never mind. No, he wouldn't, because they just pushed Pivetta's spot back for
Right.
Probably Criswell. So actually, no, he wouldn't be, but still, regardless. At least it's not that, though. I'm feeling good about the Houck start, honestly. I think the Sox very well could win that.
And I think that's the only game they win.
I'm going to turn the tables on you, though, and I'm saying Cooper Criswell comes up and pitches well enough. That doesn't say much because Griffin Canning might give up.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about Pivetta going on the IL, too.
Well, I mean, there's that. Yeah, that kind of sucks. I will say that. But Griffin Canning has an 8.38 ERA this year. So far. So, you know what? I'm sticking positive-ish. I'm saying they win 2 out of 3. Somehow, some way, they figure it out. Also, Tyler Anderson hasn't not... Actually, never mind. Tyler Anderson has a 0 ERA this year. Never mind. Somehow. He hasn't been terrible. But no, I'm going 2 out of 3 somehow, some way. Tyler Anderson's due to have a bad start. So there's that. I mean, you could argue Tanner Houck's also maybe due for a bad start, but we're not going to put that out there.
Right.
Reed Detmers due to have a bad start, maybe. Brian Bayo due to have a good start. You know, maybe get the vibes going again. Maybe the Netflix cameras can see some wins for once, because the Netflix cameras were there this weekend, or this week, or whatever the heck it is at this point. But yeah, so I'm going 2 out of 3 somehow, some way. Pivetta injury, not fun. But there's not much we can really say on it. Like, it's a flexor strain, like...
Flexor's a very mild one, too.
Yeah, it's...
Hopefully he just misses 2, needs a rehab, and then we're back.
Yeah, it's most likely precautionary. It's not much we can really add other than the fact that he's not pitching, and it looks like Cooper Criswell's getting some starts. So, Jason, there you go. your Cooper Criswell starting 10 games might actually not be wrong at all. Might not be wrong at all because it looks like it's going to happen at some point this year. He'll
Yeah.
find his way into it. But with that, it is now time to move on to our stat of the week. So we both have a stat that we are bringing into this. This can be Red Sox, MLB, baseball related as a whole. So Jason, kick it off with your stat of your week.
So let's take a trip to the MPB, where the Oryx Buffaloes, how do I want to say this? Former Red Sox prospect legend Anderson Espinoza having a very good start to his season. In his last start, he went 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and 1 earned run. For a guy who was traded for Drew Pomeranz and was really terrible, I was maybe making some sort of a comeback. Probably not, but, you know, it's funny to see a guy like him who got no league recognition, really, kind of come back. And look at him now, 7 innings pitched. That's my stat of the week.
Well, if you want to talk about former Red Sox in the MPB, Hirokazu Sawamura in 5 games has pitched 5 innings, only given up a run, which is hilarious because I was watching the Marines play, and Roki Sasaki goes 7 innings, and then in comes Sawamura right after him to pitch a clean inning.
You texted me. Oh, come on, Sawamura's coming in. What?
It was like 3 in the morning or something.
You're like, what a transition. You go from Roki Sasaki to Hirokazu Sawamura.
Well, funnily enough, your stat's in the NPB. My stat is also in the NPB because Munetaka Murakami, who is one of the best hitters in Japan, 2 years ago hit 56 home runs, which broke the record for the most by a native Japanese player in the NPB. So far this season, he is just 8 for 32 with 1 double, no homers. Which puts him at a 250 batting average, just a 281 slugging percentage. But when you look at his slash line, it's 250, 467, and 281. He has a 467 on base percentage, which is due to a 29% walk rate, which would put him on pace for a season of having 190 walks.
Wow.
For reference, the NPB record is 158 walks in a season.
Wow. That's crazy.
Now, I'm not saying he's going to do this because he has not been hitting the ball hard at all so far this year. And that's not sustainable because he's going to start hitting the ball. And I assume when he starts hitting the ball, he'll maybe start letting things fly a little bit. But he hasn't been hitting the ball. It still also has a 24% K rate so far. It's only 10 games, though. Extremely small sample size. But the fact that he's on pace for 190 walks is kind of insane. So that which is 32 more walks than the NPB record. I don't think it's happening. That's not sustainable at all. But I thought it was interesting considering the fact that this is almost like how would Barry Bonds play if he hit without having a bat available to him? It's like that's basically what Murakami's doing almost. It's either strikeout, walk, or like that's it. For the most part. More than half of his plate appearances have ended in a strikeout or a walk. So, there's that. That's my stat of the week. Moving on, we have our news note of the week. We both come in with a news piece or a note about the baseball season, whether it be Red Sox, MLB, or any other baseball-related things going on in the baseball world. So, Jason, what is your news or note of the week?
It's got to be Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara. Came out that he placed about 19,000 bets. Yeah, 19,000 bets. The average bet he made was about 12 grand. His total losing bets was over $180 million. His total winning bets was over $142, meaning his net loss...
Over $140 million, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. $142 million, and his net loss was about $40 million. Like, come on, dude. And he said, he allegedly said to someone, yeah, I'm not so good at this betting thing, LOL. Like, what? Come on.
No wonder why he tried stealing the money.
No wonder why. But it is a little fishy how he got, like, it's like, how do you let... I mean, Ohtani must be so rich to the point where it's like, this $40 million charge? Come on, $40 million?
Well, the thing was, he stole $16 million from Ohtani. One, that doesn't mean he did it all at once. So we could have taken out $1 million here, $1 million there. And when you think about it, even $1 million to Ohtani's bank account. Last year he was making, what, $30 million or so in arbitration, plus, what, $60-70 million more in sponsorship deals or whatnot? Like,
he makes, undoubtedly the most money via, sponsorships, without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so wild. Hey, but it's funny, though. As soon as Ohtani gets married, nope. He knows his bank... Oh, the money's missing from his account.
Yep.
Look what a wife can do for you.
But yep, that's my news/notes of the week. How about you, Derek?
For me, I'm gonna keep this to the American League and to a team the Red Sox are playing soon, because the Cleveland Guardians have started off the year 9-3 in their first 12 games, with a bullpen group of Emmanuel Clase, Nick Sandlin, Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith, and Tyler Beatty, combining for 32 innings without giving up an earned run, leading the bullpen to a league-leading 1.29 bullpen ERA. However, that is of note because the starting rotation, not including Shane Bieber, who is now out for the season, has a 4.80 ERA over 46 and a third innings, giving up 25 earned runs in 46 and a third innings. That is also important, not just to watch because Shane Bieber is out, meaning the Guardians rotation now needs to figure their stuff out to give their bullpen a chance to hold on to leads in games. This is also important because the Red Sox play the Guardians in a 4-game series starting next week on Patriots Day, with that game at 11 and the series going from Monday through Thursday. So that is my news/note of the week. Jason, do you have any thoughts you'd like to wrap up on to close out the episode?
The fan side of me says I hope the Sox can turn it around. The other side of me says it's really hard to see that. And unless the Sox do something externally, it's going to be a bumpy ride in the process. That's what I got to say, and I think I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, well, if you're like me, at least you have the minor leagues to watch, because that'll be fun at least.
So I'm going to the Worcester game tomorrow, too.
And I have Red Sox media credentials, so I will be there at some point
Screw
when they
you.
play in Worcester. So, so I will be there in Worcester at some point. Hopefully, doing some nice work on behalf of the Pesky Report. So shout out to my Pesky Report colleagues. Shout out Jordan, who made sure to get the media credentials. So I want to give him a shout out here. With that, and so I will be in Worcester a decent amount for the next couple months. So if anyone wants to see me, I'll be there. Beats going to Red Sox games at this point, somewhat. Although I'm going Wednesday next week, so there's also that. They're 0-2 while I'm there, right, so we need to. That needs to change, please. Yep. So yeah, with that, I think that's a good place to wrap up this episode of the Fenway Focus. So yeah, shout out to me for getting Red Sox media credentials.
Okay, yeah, just end it.
I'm gonna rub it in your face. You better be ready for it.
You rub it in your face. Okay. Cool.
So,
do I get your credential when you go to Florida?
Absolutely not, because I also have credentials for Greenville, and we're working on Portland.
Okay, but you're not going to be in Mass.
So, I can make a trip whenever I want.
Okay. Screw off.
All right.
I won't give you my Red Sox media pass.
That's fine. I don't need it.
Right, you're lost.
So, for Jason, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to the Fenway Focus, and we will see you next time.
Screw you.